Let's go back to the 13th of September last year in Iran. A 22-year-old woman was with her family in the capital city, and she was walking down when the morality police officers arrested her. Little was told about her arrest, and lesser is known about what happened in the next 3 days. What we know is that on 16th of September, she was declared dead. Not wearing the hijab properly cost her life. But this one death sparked something the Khamenei regime couldn't have ever imagined. Women and men in Iran and worldwide started a movement for justice. It unmasked decades of human rights violations against women in Iran. So has anything changed in the last 1 year? How are women doing in Iran? To answer these questions, we are being joined by Darya Safai. She's an Iranian-Belgian author and a human rights activist. She's joining us live from Brussels. Welcome to the broadcast, Ms. Safai.
Thank you so much.
Now, let's ask the difficult question first. What has changed in the last 1 year?
There are lots of changing in the last year, but not only in the last year in general. Iranian people had a history of being suppressed or this monster regime, but they don't want anything of that. The suppression of women is not what the Iranian culture and Iranian people they want. So they are fighting against those kind of suppression such a long time. But of course, every beloved that we lose, like the death of Mahsa Amini, is one situation that it makes the people very angry about it, and they react against this regime. And that was what happens with the death of Mahsa Amini. But it's not the first time that a woman is killed or is lashed or has been beaten. This is continuing to happen even now, even today, where we are talking about in all the cities of Iran. And that's what the Iranian people are fighting against. But not only that, the Iranian people, they know that they don't want this regime at all. They want the regime change, and they are fighting against this regime through the women's rights and all of the other ways that they fight. But I think what it is changed is, if you see the brave Iranian young people generation, they are ready for this regime change. They are so brave. We have seen after the when Mahsa Amini was killed, we have seen the scene of these brave girls and boys on the streets, which they didn't have any, they were not afraid of this regime, and they showed that they are ready to pay the price for being once for always free, having Iran as a democratic, secular country, and taking back their own countries. They are ready. Those are very important happening, which we have seen the last year. The last year, Iranian women are without headscarves on the streets of Iran. This is what is happening right now, even though the lashes and the things that the governments are asking them is so high, the price is so high, they are going on.
Absolutely, absolutely. You make a fair point there, and it's 1 year since the death of Mahsa Amini. What are you hearing from the women in Iran?
I hear every Iranian is very decided. They are decided to take back their countries. They are decided, this is not only about our dear daughter, Mahsa Amini. It's about thousands of children, young boys and girls that we have lost only for being free. The only thing that they ask is just have the freedom which most of the people in the world, they have. We have lost a lots of young people, like children of 10, 9. Those beloved people, they are not forgotten. We cannot forget them because they gave their blood for having this goal, freedom. And it's on the Iranian people to make it happen. And they know it. It's a very high responsibility, but they do it for the future, and not only the future of Iran and Iranian, but the future of the world will change if Iran will be a free country, democratic and secular. And that's why I, in Belgium, as a member of the Belgian parliament, I am working on it to show the world, to show the Western countries what are the advantages of a free democratic Iran for the whole world and Europe. This is so important to talk about it and open it, because if the world, if the European country and the Western countries are conscious about what the advantages are for them, then they can understand why they should stand by Iranian people in place of helping Ayatollahs to stay and to have the power. This is what the Iranian people right now, they want from the world, to hear them, to look at the situation and to decide a good decision to be on the good side of the history.
Now, you know, nobody else better to answer this but you, since you're the part of the Belgian parliament. Do you think the Western, or so to say the international community rather, has failed the women of Iran?
The international community has taken some steps, but they are absolutely not sufficient. They should continue to support the Iranian people in a better way and stronger, because otherwise they cannot go forward. They are stuck in the killing machine of the regime. You know, after this revolution of Mahsa Amini, there are a lot of young people who were just executed in the prisons. There were thousands of Iranians which were in the prisons of Evin and other prisons. If the international community closes their eyes and still continues to negotiate or talk with the monster regime, it won't help Iranian people. We should give our hands one to the other for making this regime weaker than ever, to give the Iranian people power to just put the last hard hits, and that's how it's going to happen. Of course, international community can do much more than that. The sanctions are not enough. And recently, we see just the Western country negotiating because they have hostages in Iran. This is the diplomacy of monster Ayatollah. They want to take innocent people of European countries and Western countries as a hostage,
Right.
whether terrorists or money. We should not accept such a thing. We should be clear and
Absolutely.
empowered.
Absolutely. Miss Safai, I want to go back to a point you made earlier about the youth, especially in the last 1 year, coming out, and male, female, all genders, in fact, they have, it seems like they are ready to take on the regime. We are seeing women burn their hijab, cut their hair, wear clothes of their choice on the streets. Of course, they're facing repercussions for it, but they are still voicing their opposition to the government. In fact, a report we have, it estimates that an average of about 20% of women are now breaking the law of the Islamic Republic. I want to ask you, do you think this is the start of a change? Could this really bring change?
This is the start of the end of the regime. The Iranian women, they are the soldiers for freedom. They are risking their lives, and this is so important because the Iranian culture and civilization doesn't accept such a suppression of ayatollahs. And it happens, I hope, very soon, but it will happen. They cannot live under this regime because they even don't believe in what they are obliging them to obey. But still, I believe that this generation will end this regime. I don't think that they have much more time, even though the suppression is very high and the price that the Iranian people they pay is very high. But I am sure that they are decided to win. And this overwinning is the overwinning of the world. And I am sure that the Iranian women will have the goal and soon will be free, like everywhere in the world.
Right, that's very reassuring. Now, you know, in the last 5 months, I personally have been trying to get women inside Iran to go on record about the situation in the country. But unfortunately, not a single woman is willing to speak. And the sense I get, it's not because they're cowards or they're scared. It just shows the kind of terror the regime has created. How do you explain this to a woman in India or Belgium, in fact, who are granted at least the basic human rights?
It's a very good point, a fair point. That's why we are trying to be their voice, because as a woman, as an Iranian woman, I know what it is being in prison. I have been in prisons of Ayatollahs when I was in Iran, because for the same reason, I didn't want to be oppressed. I didn't want to have mandatory hijab, and I fought for it. And that's the reason I was in prison. Of course, if you at that moment want to talk to any other media outside Iran, it's very easy for the regime to say you are a spy and you will have the death sentence. This sort of terror is the way that they are working with such a long time. And that's how we, the people, Iranian people outside the country, we know what they are going every day through. They are going through every day, and that's how we look at like our duty to be their voice and to talk about those suppression to the whole world. This sort of terror regime, of course, wants to make them silence, but their voice will never be shut down because other Iranian people are showing the world what it is like to be living in such a terror regime and system.
Right. Very quickly, are you hopeful for the future of women in Iran?
I am hopeful for the women in Iran, men in Iran, for the future of Iran, because I believe in Iranian and their power. I believe that they can take their country back, and I hope very soon for them.
All right, Ms. Darya Safai, thank you for joining us from Brussels and getting us all those insights. It was a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you so much.